We're getting our first cold front of the year. The temperatures have dropped about 20 degrees today, and it hasn't warmed up. And this is the little bit of sunlight we've had all day. Typically, when that happens, you're going to lose your topwater bite. Fish are going to get weird for a couple days. Now, doesn't mean you can't go back to catching them on topwater in a few days, but a chatterbait, something that I talk a lot about anytime the fish are in transition, and that's what this cold snap will do to the fish. They'll just get a little bit weird. They're not going to commit to your topwater like they would yesterday, and you need to pick up something subsurface. So pick up some of those really good baits that always work, especially in this cooler weather. Welcome back to the channel. Thank y'all for hanging with me on this Sunday. So cold fronts are never fun in bass fishing, but as we get into the end of the year, the cold fronts don't have the effect on the bass like they do in the springtime. So what you will find in these fall cold fronts is the topwater bite will still work. You might want to give it a day or two before you go back to it, but I've caught bass on a topwater with the water in the 40s in the month of November. So it can still work. I just don't like to throw it the day of that cooler weather. So what a cold front will typically do to fishermen is you will try to make what was working the day before continue to work, and it just is going to be different. So what I like to do is have baits in my hand that I can cover a lot of water with, because not only are the fish going to get off some of those baits that you've been catching them on, they're also going to move around a lot. So you can't just pick up a jig and slow down like I do a lot of the times in the winter and the early spring months. I still want to be covering water and looking for fish that are moving into my area, or maybe have left the specific places where I've caught them. Now, you can also go back and catch them in the exact same spots that you caught them the day before. You just don't want to throw that topwater bait that you probably found them with the day before. So what I like to do, my two favorite cold water baits on any lake is going to be a lipless crankbait and a chatterbait. Now, they make lipless crankbaits in a lot of different sizes. A half ounce is going to be a very good size for this time of year in these conditions, because what you'll typically find on the first day of the cold front is clouds and wind. So if you have it slick off or you have a little bit of sunshine, that's when I'll go down to that quarter ounce. But for most of the time, I'm going to be backed out a little bit deeper. I'm not going to be up in that dirt shallow, so I'll be out 3 feet or deeper. Half ounce is a perfect size for that depth range. And if I'm fishing around structure, that's what I really like about the lipless, a flat. Now, there could be grass on it, you could have some rock on it, but when it's more of the bass relating to structure, like a point or a drain, that's where the lipless comes in. Now, if they're really getting tight to cover and they're just relating to the cover, this could be a rock bank, this could be hydrilla milfoil, the chatterbait is going to be a better bait when they're tight to that cover. So what they'll typically do is they'll get on rock, they'll get close to the rock. Chatterbait for me, way better than a lipless crankbait. Now what you will have is fish slap at the chatterbait, have a square bill or a lipless crankbait ready to go. And once you start finding the fish, that's when I like to slow down with a fluke. So it's all the same baits, subsurface that you've been catching them on. That's where this is really going to play. And again, you can catch them in those same spots. They're just going to swipe at that top water. They're going to boil on it. You're not going to get nearly the amount of fish to commit to the bait like you did yesterday or the day before the cold front got here. So I'm still covering water. I'm still fishing fast. I'm just going to have a little bit more of an open mind and not be afraid to change what I was doing, not get too dialed in on that bite, like the top water walking bait that I was catching them on yesterday. Change. Don't be afraid to cover a little bit more water, put the trolling motor on a little bit higher, and go down the bank looking for where those fish have went. They're still catchable. They like a little bit of cooler weather this time of year. It's not going to shut the bite off like it sometimes does in the springtime. Try that. Good luck to you, and I'll see you on the water.